How you doing, everyone? Welcome back to another update. In today's one, we're going to be going through a bunch of the predicted lineups. So today we're going to be going through the Brisbane Broncos and the Canterbury Bulldogs. We're going to talk through each player in detail, how this setup will look for some players that maybe are coming back from injury. In the Broncos case, we've got someone like Payne Haas won't be starting, so we'll see how that's going to affect their bench, but also their minutes according to a lot of their players. So a lot of it's going to be speculation at this stage, but I think it's going to be really helpful in selecting a few of your players and going across the preseason there. So if you're enjoying, guys, please hit like and subscribe. Really appreciate it. Goes a long way to helping me and build this channel. So to start us off, we're going to go with Jermaine Osako. So one I haven't spoken about too much, but he's someone that really annoys me in fantasy. A bunch of years ago, when he first came in, managed to score fairly well on the wing and then played a few games at fullback. And since then, he hasn't had the consistency that you'd hope for. If we head back to last year, a lot of people brought him in after this really, really good 63 last year. He was kicking goals and had a really good game. Had a line break, try assist with a try, ran a lot of meters for a bunch of tackle breaks there. A lot of people brought him in. He played another game, got 34 and 44 before an average one at 20 and 46. So a pretty good collection of scores to start the season. And then he got moved to the interchange and then had a bunch of games on the wing. And you can see this across multiple years with him, is that he ends up playing on the wing. If things aren't going well, they seem to change it up very regularly. And my fear with him is that there's a good chance that happens again, especially when he's priced at 30 points for a 399k starter. I feel like he's someone that's fairly scary in terms of, if he doesn't stay in that role, then 30's very much overpriced for him on the wing, and in a team that isn't going to score that isn't going to play very well. I think there's many better options than Osako, but he could have a great start to the year like he did last year, and if he plays really well, he could get the entire year. But for me, he's too scary to have in anyone's side at this point. Xavier Coates is not someone we want to be thinking too much about. If you look at his scoring, not someone I've spoke about, but 363k playing on the wing, already priced at 27. You can see his scores are very much up and down. He has a couple of good games where he'll score a few tries. He's very acrobatic, but you can see there's a lot of games there with very low scoring. So he's not someone I want to be touching. Tessinu we've spoken about. It looks like he will definitely get that centre spot. He's trialling there on the weekend, and barring any catastrophes, I think he'll be in there, and he should be able to score fairly well in that position. So we got Farnworth in the centres and Arthur's on the wing, and let's have a look at what we got with Herbie. So at 350k, played a mixture of winger and centre last year, and you can have a look at a couple of games he played centre. The two games he scored really well. He scored a try. Until we come down to round 12 here, where he had 60 points at centre. A couple more try scoring games for 35 and 37. So you can see when he does play centre, he does score a lot better, and he has a bunch of low scoring games off the interchange and on the wing. So if he's going to be able to lock down a centre position at 352k, there's a chance that he has a little bit of upside. But with what happens with the Broncos, you can see he changed so regularly. Played a bunch of decent games in the centre, and then got moved back to the wing, back to the centre, and then wing again to finish. So he just would be a roller coaster ride that I'm not too interested in. And Arthur's he's almost tipped to play the centre spot as well by a lot of people, and priced at 21 is probably a slightly better option. But given the fact that he's so up and down as well, and in a bad team, I wouldn't be thinking too heavily towards these guys. Just something I've learned over the years is just, if you're picking a half that's relying a little bit more on attacking stats, and same with your back five, you want them to be in a good team where they're either going to be able to have more opportunities to score tries or at least set up tries there. So that's sort of the thoughts around those guys. Milford looks like there's a good chance that he is on track for round one. We spoke about him in the halves video. There's a good chance that he does make money, but in a team when he's been struggling, and in a team where they haven't been going well either, it's very hard to see him doing amazingly well, especially when you've got someone like Dearden who who is taking a lot of the kick meters, for example. You can see down here through the back end of 2020, he's averaging approximately high 200s to 300 meters kicked and scoring fairly well. So with him, he can make him a little bit more of the dominant half, and Milford's going to play more of the running game. And this is a little bit of an issue in a team that isn't very good. So a few people have asked me about Dearden, but priced at 40 already, I don't see him as having too much upside. There's a bunch of other halves in this position that are better players, for one, in Morgan and possibly Brooks, these kind of guys that I'd have before I'd have a Dearden. So moving to our number 8 position with Matty Lodge, he's someone that I have a great deal of interest in. We've got to have a look at what the makeup of this squad's going to be. At times last year, obviously, Lodge was a little bit injured, but Flegler did take the start over Lodge last year a few times, and you wouldn't expect that to happen this year with Lodge being fitter, so not carrying that injury, but there is that chance as well. So Flegler's obviously becoming a decent part of this side. In the trial this weekend, you've got Tavita Pangai playing in the prop position, so it looks like there's a good chance that he's going to be playing through the middle. There's also a chance Pat Carrigan plays the 8 or the 10 position in the first few games, but again, it's not a big change from the 13, and I think he's a much better lock than anyone else in this that would be in this team. You've also got guys like Jordan Ricky, who's looking to want to play in that 11 or 12 position. If Pangai moves to the middle, you then have Lodge, Flegler, Pangai, Carrigan, and Payne Haas that are all vying for a big bunch of minutes, and you got also someone like Asiata on the bench as well. So my main issue is the fact that there's a limited amount of minutes to go around, and for Lodge to score really well, you're looking for him to get close to 50 minutes, for an average of about 45, which puts him about 15 points undervalued. So that's my main worry there, and I think the first few games he'll definitely score really well. So I think the goal there would be to get him averaging in the 50 minutes for an average closer to 45 to 50, and then maybe he slows down closer to a 40 average after that, which would if you average that out over 6 games, for example, he'd be scoring 42, 43, which makes him over 150k, which would be a really good result with good scoring along the way. So I think that he is worth it. If Payne Haas was playing, that then there might have been a little bit more of an issue, and he might have only scored about 40 points. So that's my thoughts on him. Flegler, I wouldn't want to be talking about too much. Very up and down, has some really good games, and a few people brought him in last year on the back of a few of them, and then nothing happened past that. So Lodge is definitely the better player and option at this point. Jake Turpin. So McCulloch has moved over to the Dragons now, and Turpin's a decent person to think about for this spot. They've got Corey Pakes, who looks like he's going to sit somewhere on the bench and take sort of that 15 to 20 minutes. As you can see, some games here, 65, 63, and 57 minutes, 52 later in the year. We've got and then we move to 2019. But he will play that 60-ish minute role if they're going to have someone on the bench. But you can see what happens when he plays 80 minutes. He's got 62 points for a lot of tackles in 60. He's got a 49 game. And these are in 2019 there. So there isn't a lot to go off last year. He's already priced at 40, and a bunch of his scores are going to be in the 40s with a couple of games at 30 there. But he definitely has a little bit of upside if he's going to get closer to 80 minutes. If he's playing 60, I probably don't want to touch him. With a PPM of 0.6, if he's getting 60 minutes, you're looking at, just under 40 actually. So, he has to be playing close to 80 for him to be a trade in or a bring in for the preseason. Is my thoughts on that one. Alex Clem, we're not going to talk about. Pangai Jr. I think has a little bit more upside if he's playing in the middle, in terms of there's going to be more work to be had, but there's also the fact that he won't play a full game like he would in the second row position. Carrigan, he'll play decent. He'll play the big minutes. Won't be as much as last year, but I think he's someone that could be a really interesting option after a few weeks when his price drops. Jordan Ricky, we're looking for him to get a starting position. If he's on the bench and getting sort of 30 minutes, I don't think he's worth bringing in at this point, because he'll only score close to his break even. And and Oates wants to move into that second row spot as well, which just makes a very crowded position. A bunch of people have been talking about Asiata, but he's not that perfect fantasy scoring type. Your Corey Pake's in there as well, which could fill that role. And then you've got guys like Brodie Croft on the bench, which could take a Milford or Dearden spot if they don't play well. You've got Kenner for some cover in the wing fullbacks. And you've got Katoni Staggs coming back in about 3 months with Ben Teo's just waiting in the wings as well. So yeah, Staggs we don't have to worry about for that period of time. But there you go with the Broncos, guys. Just think with them, not going to play really well. It's not a team you'd want to be going for, those wing fullbacks and centers for the most part, unless they're really cheap. If they're somewhere in the 300 to 400k range, I think that's a little bit risky. If they're a little bit lower than that, then you're not taking much risk for a guy that's going to get a full game, and hopefully the Broncos can improve on what they did last year. They obviously can't go any worse. So there you go, guys. That's my thoughts on the Broncos, and we're going to move to the Bulldogs now. So there's a couple of interesting options with the Bulldogs. We've spoken about Corey Allen a little bit. Let's just have a look at the whole team makeup, and they've improved at 7. We'll definitely say that they've improved in the centres with Kotrick. Allen comes over, so you move Hopewade to the centres where he obviously played a lot of last year. But Allen comes over, he played Origin, so he must be decent, right? Even though he had a bit of a shocker. Got Averillo in there, he's only going to get better. Watini's legs now has some skill, so there's some improvement there, right? The rest of it's fairly similar. You need getting Elliott back healthy is going to be important, but they've definitely improved at certain positions, and losing someone like Tolman, for example, will leave a dent, but his role in this current game, in the faster game, is not as important as it used to be. And then you look on the bench and there's not too much there. You're missing Luke Thompson at the moment, but they're going to be better. So you'd expect that Allen will score okay. They're going to be a team that's going to be fairly similar to the Broncos, but again, Allen at over 400k, he's just a really awkward price for me at the moment. He's someone that I could possibly see in my team, but I only see him averaging at a high ceiling of 40, which only puts him slightly undervalued at this point. Kotrick is going to score more tries in the Raiders team, so he's not someone on my radar. Hopewade we've spoken about a little bit. I'd rather him be playing fullback than in the centre, so he's a no from me. Averillo looks like he's going to be playing, which again is a good thing, and majority of people are going to have him, so there's nothing too exciting. Unless you're someone that's looking to avoid him at this stage. But Averillo, yeah, Flanagan, price in the 50s already. Nothing really too much to say further on that. He's going to take the bulk of the kick meters with someone like Averillo there. Even if you have someone like Wakeham at 6, then Flanagan's going to get the majority of the kick meters. A lot of people are talking about Jack Hetherington, and he's not someone that interests me. You can have a look at his scores on footy statistics there, and he hasn't done very well at all. Even in his big minute games, he's still lucky to score 30. So Marshall King looks like he'll be spelled by Ogden, just based on these predicted lineups. And yeah, we'll just score the same as he normally would. Dylan Napa, similar thing, not much improvement I see there. Jackson, similar. Fatala Mariner he was a great option last year. I spoke about him last year as bringing in. He's now up at a high price, and I don't see much value. Adam Elliott is probably our most interesting one in this team. Brendan Elliott, the old Manly special. All right, Adam Elliott, priced at 44 for his 47 average, and when you look back, that it does include a couple of games where he played a little bit less. So got injured at the 54-minute mark in round 8, and had an injury-affected game in round 3 as well. So when you look at that, we go into his normal games. He's got a 38, a 58, a 60, a 43, a 58, 63, and a 50 in 44 minutes, which is really good. So I definitely think he's undervalued. I think he can average close to 50 this year. He definitely took a leap from the year previous, where he's a little bit more inconsistent with a bunch of 40s and 40s, 20s, and 30s. To then average. And be a lot more consistent. You can see his low score of 38 in the first game, where he only ran for 67 meters, which was really low compared to what he normally would. But the rest of them, your low then is 43, which is really cool. And I've seen a bunch of guys with him in their side, and I think if you if you're running out of money and can only pick a mid ranger in this middle position, then Adam Elliott will do a job for you. I just don't see him as being a keeper all year round, so that's something to think about for your team going forward. Adam Elliott, you've got blokes like Corey Waddell, Wakeham. So if Wakeham gets a spot in the sixth, then he'll be someone to look at. But it looks like Flanagan will be doing most of the work. You can see a lot of these games where he's kicked for big meters are when he's the dominant half, playing with a running six. So yeah, and in those games he kicked for 360, 420, 500 meters and still only had a high game of 57 with a 45 and a 39, being priced at 34. Not going to be a main contributor. He's not someone you'd want to look at too much, but if Flanagan goes down, if someone's injured for the year and he has to come in and be the dominant half, then maybe that's when you look to bring him in, and hopefully his price has dropped since then. Luke Thompson was the only other one that's interesting. Once he comes back, I think he's going to play a really prominent role in this dog side, where you can see they've got Dylan Harper and Hetherington. So Hetherington, I'd prefer to personally play in shorter bursts, and someone like Luke Thompson should play in the middle and play some big minutes, which you can see at the end of last year really came into his own and is able to play those bigger minutes. Played in the lock position, just started fairly slowly. Wasn't able to get to too many attacking stats, and you can see in the last game managed to get 6 tackle breaks, an offload, and got a few offloads at the back end of the year, running for many more meters than he did earlier on. So for him, priced at 44, there's probably a tiny bit of upside, but again, we have to wait till he gets back and into the team and seeing what he does. Hopefully he drops a bit of cash and he's someone you might be able to look into picking up. But there you go, guys. That's the first 2 teams. Let me know if you like this format. Just gives you a go at actually running through every player. So I'll do this for every team, 2 at a time, and we'll go from there, guys. So yeah, hope you enjoyed that. Please hit like and subscribe, as I said again. Really appreciate it, and have a good one, guys. Enjoy.